all these years that we haven't been at. You know the first thing he said? He said, if I say exactly what happened concerning the Chibok girls and the people that were involved, Nigeria will burn. He said it on live TV.
I see. So there's more to it than we know. So,
one of the things that also comes to my mind about these things, and I'm just wondering, look, okay, first of all, I think it was a Zamfara state governor that said, look, the people that were kidnapped, that was in Dapchi, was it in Dapchi? There was a kidnapping. And then the governor at the time said, we know the people that are behind this thing, and we're going to call them out, we're going to name them and shame them. That's never happened.
Never happened.
That was from a governor. A senator has also come out and said, a minister has also come out, so quite a number of them have said, the people who are behind these things, they are known, responsible for these insecurity issues that we're having. They are not unknown people. I think Senator Shehu Sani has variously also spoken to the fact that some of the people that are behind this insecurity, they are known. The question that is playing on my mind is this. Alero, these things happen in the north mostly. Why? Secondly, the north has the highest number of people living below the poverty line in this country. So why, again, why? Thirdly, state governors are the chief security officers of their state. Please don't get me started on we don't have authority over the police. I don't agree that that is it. Because Lagos state government does not have its own police, or your state government does not have its own police. So what are we talking about here? Kwara state governor doesn't have his own police. Imo state governor doesn't have his own police. So what in the universe will anyone be telling me is because they don't have their own security operatives? What happened to the security, the community development associations? What happened to the traditional institutions? What happened to the local government administrations? There is I think this thing is simple. This could be what Frank Mba once called economic crimes. He said it just about the time, just before the COVID-19 broke. These are what we will call economic crimes. Some people say that this whole kidnapping thing has become a business.
Yes. Yes.
So it is heart-wrenching that it is the destinies of young people.
Children.
That you scandalize their minds. You are literally destroying the future of this country.
And then, aside from all that, what happened to the Safe School Initiative?
It was one of the questions
we've stopped hearing about it.
It was one of the questions Malcolm brought up. I think it was with Dr. Kechuku or someone. I'm not sure who she raised that particular question with. Ask me, as you, my people will say in the Niger Delta.
If you ask me.
Now I'll go ask. So, I don't know. Look, these things are not unknown. Maybe it's easier for me to say because I'm sitting comfy in a hotel, in a studio in Lagos. But it is the future of this country that is at stake.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, these children are going to grow up in this same country. They will grow up in this same country. And the experiences
how are they going to live with that trauma?
That's the thing. It will make them become... There is no other way to look at it.
Yeah.
And the people behind these things, your children they are citizens of this country. And they will bear the brunt. Let's tell ourselves the truth. This shouldn't go on. This is 2024. If this is about money, there are other ways to make money. For God's sake.
Happy International Women's Day. Well, it was yesterday, but I don't suppose I'm too late.
I'm sorry, Alero. How will the mothers of these children be celebrating International Women's Day today?
Didn't you see them on the news? Didn't you see the mothers wailing, please help us get our children back.
Imagine.
Help us get our children back.
There is, at the very least, that's 100 families. At the very least,
yes.
That's 100 families.
As if they're not facing enough as it is with the cost of living and all that. Then the children get carted away.
Imagine, you want to collect ransom of millions from people that can hardly eat a day's meal.
People that can hardly feed.
This is not right.
This is also
well, the
sad.
president has said the ordered the release or the return of the children. The president's wife, the first lady, has also spoken that this is not right. In fact, she said she's recommending capital punishment.
The death penalty.
That the governor should consider the capital punishment. Which governor will have the courage? And indeed, I think it is something that should happen. Once, just once. What happened in Odi?
Send the message.
What happened in Odi? Who dared try it when Obasanjo was president? You won't die.
Oh, by the way, happy birthday, former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Well, we saw you digging it, you know, in your shorts.
When I woke him up from his bed, wish him a happy birthday. You know, these things.
So, yesterday was International Women's Day. Tomorrow is Mothering Sunday. So it's all about the women. So don't wonder too much why our whole menu this morning is
from the kitchen. We understand. Don't worry.
It's from the kitchen.
Yes.
Excuse me. You see that mindset about women. A woman's place is in the kitchen. There we go.
Or Azaru.
The menu.
Okay.
We're going to start off by talking about women and security in Nigeria.
Okay. We will also talk about, we will speak with the Minister of State for Police Affairs, who is also a woman.
And we'll be talking women affairs in the police. Then we'll be talking women in business and the challenges they face.
Again, women in governance and nation building. Women.
And then we'll be having an artist of the week.
Who is a woman?
Who happens to be a woman.
Okay. I'm the only man you're going to see on this program this morning. So, well, maybe I'll be representing the single fathers.
Maybe you can take a walk.
Well, that would be a good idea. So it's not too late for you to grab your cup of cocoa or whichever one.
Whichever one you prefer.
And we'll be right back to get the show on the road.
Thank you for joining us this Saturday morning. Women and children are reported to be the most adversely affected groups by insecurity in the country, but incidentally, they seem less visible than their male counterparts when it comes to discussing issues related to how to tackle insecurity in the country. Even when the problem of insecurity is being discussed, you can hardly see women at the table. Look at the forces, for instance. How many women are represented? You know, these are issues we're going to be looking at this morning. Yesterday being International Women's Day and tomorrow being Mothering Sunday. It's all about the women today. So it's my pleasure to welcome the Managing Director, Trans World Security Systems, Mrs. Victoria Ekumu.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now, I know that we are at a disadvantage.
Yes.
Especially in Nigeria. Or should I say more so in Nigeria. Now, you are a security expert. In your experience, how often have you had to have security discussions that involved women? Not as in as they are affected, because we know that they are affected.
Yes.
As in when you are looking for solutions. How often have women been involved in those discussions?
Thank you for that question. When they are, like you rightly said, women are mostly affected when there are cases of insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and all of that. But women, I can't recall when women have been called to the table to discuss issues of insecurity by government. Because when there are issues of insecurity, the people that are mostly called are the police, the armed forces, you know,
and all
of
represented
that.
by men.
Yeah, all men. And women are hardly called. And even the private security sector, they are not even called to the table, because I'm part of the private security sector. We are not invited. But we have the technology to help to resolve these problems.
Why do you think women
private
don't
companies?
get called?
Yeah, I'm talking even private companies are not even involved. Not to talk about women. I mean, and women are not many, even in the private security.
Why do you think that is the case, that women don't get called when those issues are being discussed?
I believe they just assume that women are the feeble victims, they are the weaker sex, and they have nothing to contribute to the table. But you forget that women, we are the ones, there's no man that is brought up in this world without a woman, no matter how crazy he is. Every man is born by a woman. And they nurture them, and they are able to influence the men. But they are never called when there are problems.
Why do you think it is significant for women to get called for such conversations?
Who are the people that make the home? You have a husband, you have the wife. But who are really the people behind the home? When the woman is not there, there's no home.
Yeah, I understand.
So the woman has a major role to play in influencing the children, whether they are male or female. So if they are also called in the community, they can assist. Then if they are called by government, they can also be very effective, because we have to use different methods. It's not only using the guns, like the military. What they understand is holding the guns. But
what I understand from my partner's question is, what will the women bring to bear when they are called to this table?
That's what I'm trying to say, that the women...
Am I correct?
Yeah. That the women, they can better influence even the people. That's in a more diplomatic way. That, like, if I know, let's take for my family right now. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, the women, they nurture the children.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the argument someone could be coming up with there is, look, it's the job of the man to protect his home. So it's the job of the man to make sure that the woman does everything that she needs to do to ensure that the home is secure and everything. And I will protect the home, but she will be the one to nurture the home. So that's why I'm asking, if women were brought to the table to discuss security issues, what difference will it make to the architecture?
They will be able to provide the solutions that are not the other strategies different from what the men will bring to the table. Like even in like I say, in the family right now, a woman will be the one to tell the children what to do. They bring up the children in what to do. Though the man says he protects, but he's really busy with his work. It's the woman that will nurture these children, and they bring, you know, I will give an example of my, let me use my children. Like when I started my family, I remember my son, my fourth son, when he went to school, he brought all the rulers, pencils of other children. Do you get what I'm saying? He brought them to the house. He didn't know better. So I had to stop him, had to tell him that you don't bring anybody's things to my house. If I ever see you with those things, my husband was there, but he didn't really pay attention. If I ever see you with anybody's things in my house, then you hear from me. That was the last time this guy touched anything that didn't belong to him. Then even when he was in school, he joined another friend to start bullying others. It was a white school in the US. There were about 5 of them that were black. He would be, every time I go to pick him up, he would beat himself and his friend. They would beat up and bloody up white children. And I'll meet him on that punishment. So for me, just like what you said, I called my husband. I said, this is what your son is doing. Handle it. And to him, it was funny because he had lived in the US. is used to the racial problems that are in the place, and he was happy that his son could beat up and bloody up the white people. So he was laughing. He said, "Good for them. Let him deal with them." And to me, that was not okay. You understand? So I left my husband to travel because I left it to him before to handle, but he didn't handle it. So what I did when he traveled, I now told my husband, I beat up my son, and I warned him that I should never meet him under punishment. So because of that beating, and it's in the US, because of the way I handled him, when his friend is going to beat up the white people, he stayed away from it. And guess what? 2 months after, his friend was expelled from the school. So he would have been expelled too.
Continued, he too would have been expelled.
So the men are the ones they say protect, but the women are the ones that really bring up these children. The ones that are killing people and everything. It's a failure. The women maybe didn't do what they were supposed to do to ensure, or maybe it was left to the men to take care of. And
that's a different thinking altogether. Yeah. So it's the mothers that should have nurtured the women away from the kind of things that that are being done now.
The culture, they are supposed to nurture nurture them in the right values.
All these kidnapping things would have been staved off if the children had been brought up correctly.
It starts at the home, then the school too has a role to play. But if nothing is done, or you leave them to the men who feel, maybe the men are in the radical set, then the children will follow suit. But if the women are involved and they are really, they are told to take up their roles properly, then some of these things will fizzle out. Remember when we had the right values in Nigeria, you put your things out, nobody touches those things. But, with the get-rich-quick syndrome, it has changed. It doesn't matter whether you kill anybody. Even your parents will even be, they will be praising you when you buy them houses. They won't care whether you are a Yahoo person. They won't care how you got the money, or whether you killed people to get the money to do it.
This is the 21st century, and it's the age of technology.
Yes.
Is there any way that technology can help women in the area of keeping them safe and secure from all these things that are happening around them?
The women, we have things like tracking systems. Women can wear personal tracking on them because when this...
but these are rural women to start with.
No, I'm just saying, you are talking about technology.
Well, yes, yes.
The government can come in to help. You understand what I'm saying? When these bandits come into a place, the people that are most vulnerable are the women and children. They are the ones they move out. If they have, even if it's a few random people that they give these trackings, they're not so expensive. The government can even invest in it. If they are the ones that even have this tracking system, when they are moved, especially children in schools right now, because part of the ploy is to prevent children from going to school, because they go there. It's like what just happened in Kaduna State, where they went another mass abduction. If in the school they have something like that, like some tracking system, when they are moved, at least you can track where they are taking them to. And then the security forces can go after them and help to, rescue them from those people. Then there should be things like, in the schools, there should be things like cameras. I know that you say it's in the rural area, but now we have a problem. We can't just sit down and say it's rural. I think government has to take ownership.
The footages we saw of that particular school in Kaduna, where this thing happened a few days ago, it was like there were no fences, there was no gate. It was just open, and I'm wondering, how come since Chibok we still have such schools in Nigeria?
That's sad, because I know even personally, when I was the national president for my old girls, I had planned to renovate a complex, that's a building. But then this Chibok happened, and then the abductions continued in schools. And I found out that my school, though we had fence, the fence had broken in so many parts because you could see cows walking into a lot of compound, a lot of premises, and they come in to graze with their headers.
Ouch.
And with that, they also take the schoolgirls when they are ready. So what did I do? I had to focus on ensuring that the fence, though it was massive, that's a Maragority, though the fence was massive, I had to ensure, I had to ensure that the fence was taken care of. And, you know, at least secure the children and the students and visitors to that place. So at least that the physical security is important. Then if you can put just a couple, even things like inverters are not too expensive. Some of them might not even have lights. 25,000 or so, you have one. If you throw about 4 around the place, there'll be at least some light, even when they take light.
Okay. Madam, you are in the security space.
Yeah.
How possible is it that about 200 women will be abducted from an internally displaced persons camp? About 287, almost 300 children abducted from a school, and there was no intelligence to pick it, and the logistics of moving, because I don't know if there is any land vehicle that can move 200 people at a time, not even 100.
Doesn't make sense.
To the best of my knowledge, much less in Kaduna or Borno. So what do you think could have happened? I'm talking about this to you as a woman so that the world can know that women have options. They have some good thinking about this that, you know, government at various levels can use.
It reminds me about the Chibok girls, their abduction. If you remember, that was mass abduction from a school. And it really didn't make sense that they took all of them and nobody saw them and nobody could stop them. There was no police. Meanwhile, every local government is supposed to have police. Every local government is supposed to have civil defense. And there are women and men in these areas, and nobody could stop, call for help, and prevent it. We recall that even in that one, some people dropped off. You know, there were some of the girls were able to
run away.
And that's how they were safe. So this one that happened in Kaduna also, you know, beats me for them to have moved them successfully without without anybody stopping them. And this is an IDP camp. One will expect that there will be better security at the IDP camp because it's not the first time they're having issues like that. So government that have moved these people out of their homes to IDP camp, supposed to, it behooves them that they put at least some, even if it's minimum security, even if it's guards, you know, guards in place, physical guards that are there to at least see what is happening and then call for help.
Yes.
Then there should be at least even police around the place. So for everything to have fallen off and for them to have taken them successfully, I don't know. Maybe there's a conspiracy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a conspiracy. At times, I remember when the Chibok girls happened, people were saying that it was a ploy against the government of the day. You understand? To embarrass the government of the day. That was what was said then during the Jonathan administration. So this mass abduction again, I mean, I think there should be more investigation to see whether, you know, what is behind it, because it really doesn't make, I mean, these people are not invisible.
Exactly.
They are visible, and there are so many that they are moving at the same time. So no security guard, no police, no woman, even women are in the communities.
So
men are in the communities that can call for help.
You see, government has so many questions to answer about this whole thing in the first place. That's what you're saying.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know whether it's the government or it's against the government.
Well,
Do you
the
understand?
government
But
is the true security of the state.
Government also has a role to play because they're supposed to have protected the IDP camps, especially in view of what has been occurring in many of these IDP camps.
Yeah, just to be clear, Alera, before you take your question, the abductions in IDP camps happened in Borno State.
Yes.
The abduction of 280
happened in Kaduna.
Happened in Kaduna State.
Yeah.
And the president has already ordered
the military
that the children and everyone who has been abducted should be brought back. I'm waiting for that order to be obeyed. Let's go ahead.
You are a security expert. I keep stressing on that. So what do you think, what long-term strategies are needed to address the root causes of insecurity generally in the country?
Right now, one of the root causes of that is even increasing the insecurities in the land is the economic situation. You know, the hunger in the land is, in fact, turning more people that maybe might not get into violent means or might not, you know, be a threat. Many of them are turning into that because they are hungry. So I think the government has to look at that very quickly. The food insecurity, because the new one that just added to it is hoodlums, or I'll say poor people attacking warehouses, trucks that are in transit. They are, you know, to get the food. That's a new one. It's never happened before. It's only during the NSAS that we had something
COVID,
like that.
actually.
COVID.
COVID.
But now it's very common now. When Dangote trucks and the others, they just go attack them and take food out of those places. So the food, you know, look at how to address the food crisis that we have. The poverty in the land, it is palpable. You know, I am in the security industry. How much do we really pay a guard? You know, it's minimal. And then the money can maybe only take care of transportation. But how do they feed? And most of them marry more wives than us, and they eat more than we do. You understand? So that's a problem. So that has to be, the food crisis has to be addressed. Then the police, you know, they have to take up their role in policing the nation, because in a civil society, police has a major role to play. But as you notice, the military, they are taking up most of the roles of the police. You understand what I'm saying? So
I'm glad you brought in that, you brought in the police, because I'm
they're
sure
in every local government.
Some people are also wondering, if there were more women in the armed forces and in the police force,
yes,
would it affect the strategies which government is using to tackle this problem?
Of course it will, because like we have said earlier, women and children are the most affected. So if women are part of this architecture, of course they'll be more empathic and they'll be more focused in ensuring that, you know, the ongoing insecurity does not continue. At least they will be able to ensure that they stop it. Because right now it's like, though we have the police, it's like what just happened, the mass abduction. There was no police presence, because in their move, they passed so many geographical, and then even the civil defense are supposed to be part of this architecture. And they're in every local government. So if women see these people moving them, they are supposed to be able to call for help and then stop them. But there was an absence.
Okay. Now,
so women have a major role to play.
Part of what she also said about strategies, I know that I think secondary school students now are being taught some kind of security,
civic
security
studies,
courses or whatever it is that they have to take subjects on security. I was actually very surprised and happy, very delighted to see that they are now teaching them from that level, you know, about security, awareness and prevention or whatever. What kind of things should we be communicating to those children in a way that they will be safe while protecting themselves from such occurrences? Because I'm not very sure that they were, I don't know whether or not they were armed.
Yeah, I don't know the curriculum. I remember my late husband, worked with some of them. But I don't know what the curriculum is all about. But there are things that children should know to protect themselves from being victims. At times, it's just like when some of them are to be adopted, they're attracted by different things, either food or, at times these people might even use jazz. You understand what I'm saying? It's true. you get what I'm saying? So when you see when you see a stranger, you avoid the stranger. I mean, we're told, I remember when we were growing up, when you see a stranger, they greet you, just greet, but move away. Don't get overly friendly because at times they can have ulterior motives. And if they're trying to give you sweet or food, because they can use that to, attract you and they abduct you. So some of the things, strangers, be careful with strangers. And, so.
I'm actually, as my colleague said, I don't know whether it is something that also happens in the US and other parts of the world, because rather than wait for the jazz, they just bring out spray pepper. Once you spray, you like 2 or 3 times. all of your jazz will disappear. So do you think it is something that can also work here? I mean, all the children should have spray peppers or something so that whenever any abductor comes?
That is a technology. But he was also saying, rural. But that's a technology that can be given. That's pepper spray. It's useful for women even. Just have pepper spray, women and children.
Yes.
So if there's any attack on you, you spray it and then you run away. I remember those days, there were times we used to bring something that they call zapper. It's a little thing. And if someone comes close to you and, is trying to manhandle you, you can use it on the person. It will knock the person off. Not kill the person, knock the person off. And then you can at least have a chance to run away. Because pepper spray, the person can still hold you, hold you tight. But that one, the zapper, a pepper spray has a place. But the zapper, I remember we used to bring it, that's in the 90s, we used to bring it quite a bit. People were buying it.
I have one.
And then when
it's a torchlight.
Yeah, and then you just, if someone comes after you, you just use it on the person. And the person zap the person. And the person falls down and you take off. At least it gives you a chance to, escape and survive. Because since the armed forces are not there to quickly get you, you have to have something.
You have to have your own force.
Your own force.
In your purse.
You have to have your own force.
Okay, we have to wind down now, or should I say wind up? Are we winding up or down?
We shall wind.
Let's wind. Okay. So what are your hopes for a future where women can live safely? Or should I say, are you hopeful that in the near future, women will feel safer in this society?
A lot of things have to be done for that. There have to be legislative amendments.
Domestic violence as well.
Domestic violence. There has to be legislative changes. The way the laws are, which are archaic, must be changed. You must address them. And then women must be involved in this, the decision making. In the decision-making of whatever architecture is put in place to protect the nation. It shouldn't be an all men's affair. Like in the police, there's no woman in the top hierarchy. In the military, no woman in the top hierarchy. In the Navy, no woman in the top hierarchy. In all those forces, there's no woman there. So if we now start having a situation where women are moved up, because most times when they are getting to those positions, they retire them, So if we have that, then there'll be hope.
Is that true?
Have you seen any woman IGP? Have you seen any woman Chief of Defense Staff? Have you seen any woman top of immigration?
Maybe they don't join the forces to start with.
There are some. but there are not many. So they have to be encouraged to come in, and they have to also be protected, because at times, when you even hear some of their stories, there are times, because they are so few, there's the support system might not be so much, and, to ensure that they go all the way. And at times...
We have a female controller general now, haven't we?
That's all.
Immigration service.
That's all. We thank God.
Well,
but that's just one.
Let's just say
that's just one. So, but when we now start deliberately moving women up the ladder, then there'll be hope. Right now, it's still very hopeless.
Mrs. Victoria Ekomu, Managing Director, Trans World Security Systems Limited. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
To talk to us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Sunrise will be right back, and we're still talking about the women.
And
Stay with us.
Just to also say, well, perhaps to give her some hope, the next guest is also a woman, Minister of State for Police Affairs. Yes, she's a woman. She's a woman. She's one of us.
She's one of us.
Let's be hopeful. Let's continue to work.
Thank you for staying with us this morning. Allow me to use my masculine voice to start with. Now, statistics says that the number of women in the police force has reduced since 2016. In 2016, it was about 19.09% of women in the Nigeria police. It drops to 17.17 that's 17.77 in 2017, and down to 9.75% in 2018, which is the most recent data we have. Now, we also understand that November last year, the Women Affairs Ministry said it is partnered with the police in reserving 35% of recruitment slots for female participants. And the ministry said it is in fulfillment of the national gender policy, which formulated a 35% affirmative action. And a number of other issues to raise this morning. Let's welcome the Minister of State for Police Affairs as part of our special this morning concerning the International Women's Day. Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, she's right there on your screen, joining us from our Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us this morning, madam. And happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me, and happy International Women's Day.
Well, maybe to the single fathers, I'm not one, at least not anymore. But to the issue at hand, for you, as Minister of State for Police Affairs, what are the most pertinent needs of women, particularly those in the force, in security in Nigeria?
There's many of them. Most importantly is we've just reviewed the gender policy for the police, and we have an act, the Police Act of 2020 that has also been reenacted. So we're working to ensure that the regulations, are in line with the act, because the regulations are still backdated, because that will support the implementation of the gender policy. And also, thanks to UN Women, they're supporting also to come up with the implementation, plan for our reviewed gender policy. So that would help address the challenges of women in the police force, the Nigerian police force.
What exactly are these recommendations that you are talking about? Because from part of the things that we have had in some sectors of our security architecture is that certain things are they're professional. Consequently, compromising them for women might be an issue. So how significantly do you think these things that you're talking about will affect our security architecture?
When the women in the force, or when we have more women in the force, and they've been well catered for, they would also be able to contribute better in the response to securing the nation. When they have better working conditions, when they've been put into consideration, flexi working hours, because women also have to tend to the home front, and they also have peculiar issues, around, delivery of service. So when all these things are being put into consideration, there's been some very, very strict, policies with the old act. Both the new act and the new policies, all these have been addressed. So we're working collectively with the security policy experts to ensure that, we give women, a conducive working environment, a thriving, policy, so that they can also give it their best shot. And I'm so impressed with the recent enrollment in Polak, because we've seen a lot of women being enrolled into the police academy. And there's an ongoing recruitment, and I'm sure we would push to see that women are being accommodated.
Madam, what reason can you adduce for the reduction from 19.9% to 17.77% in just a space of 12 months for recruitment of women into the force?
The statistics I have is 30% women. And I know that 30% is not enough. So like I said, there's an ongoing recruitment exercise. We'll ensure that we have more women. If you look at India, for example, they have about 3.8 million police officers, and 2.5 million of them are women, because they understand the challenges of communities. And that is the direction we're going as a country: community policing, neighborhood policing, because that's where the problems are. So would advocate for more women so that, they can work with communities, work with families to see that we're addressing our challenges from the root causes.
Is it that women are not joining the force, or they come in, they don't do well, so they're, let by the wayside?
No, women are interested. There's interest and there's participation. If you look at the statistics of the women that have indicated interest, that have applied, it's, they're in numbers. So women are interested and they do well in the police force. Like I mentioned earlier on, they do have challenges, but we work, I'll never take my being here for granted. We must thank Mr. President for his wisdom. And one of my priorities is to see that we kind of support women to come into the policing space and for them to also do well. One thing that I'm very proud of is the ongoing mentoring program by the senior police officers, the senior female police officers. They ensure that they mentor the junior officers, because they know the challenges that they went through when they started. So they help them to kind of overcome it. They mentor them, they support them so that they don't fall off, or they don't find it as difficult as they did many years ago. So that's also one of the programs that we must support.
I don't know if you watched the last segment, but our last guest, who is in the security space, noted that there are no women in the higher echelons of the police force. Why is that so?
There are women, but there are not enough women. And this particular challenge is not just, peculiar to the police force. It's across board. Yes, there are good women at the higher levels. We want them to go higher to the rank of the IGP, and I'm confident that one day it will happen. But we'll try to kind of encourage more women to come up. We have female CPs, we have 2 female AIGs. I pray that we would have female DIGs too in the nearest future. So we're doing well, but we can do better. And the challenge is not just peculiar to the security sector or to the policing, to policing in Nigeria. It's across board. But I know that once we do things intentionally and we strategize, we'll be able to see more women reflect at the higher levels.
Is it that the conditions are rather stringent? Because we have some material here about differentiating between the married woman and the unmarried woman, and the one who can get pregnant and the one who cannot get pregnant. Are all these militating against females joining the force?
These conditions, yes, they do add up, but they don't stop women. We still have women, regardless of their circumstances, they still rise. We've had female CPs in states. We have other security agencies with females being directors in the states. So yes, there are challenges, but it doesn't stop a woman, from doing whatever she has to do, from contributing, from supporting, in ensuring, that our nation is secured. So yes, the challenges are there, but they will not deter us. And women have continued to do it regardless. And we ensure that we back it up with the right policies so that we encourage them to rise as high as they would want to.
That's impressive, madam. One of the questions that I put to our guest earlier, I'd like to put the same question to you as well, which is, what significant difference will it make to have women in the top echelon of any security architecture in the country? And secondly, what difference will it make to have an abundance or a significant number of women in the police in the different communities? How will it make a difference in our security architecture?
Not just in the security architecture, but I feel that we should strike a balance. We should have women and men, contribute. We should have that, that collaboration. It's a complementary role. And I can assure you that when we have more females in policing, they'll be able to, because they're the ones in the communities. These are the mothers, There's no way a mother goes to bed without ensuring she knows where her kids are, that the doors to the house are locked. The same applies to the larger society. When you have women, they can be watch guards, they can be informants, they can work with family units, because that's where it all starts. So the more women we have in the security space, the better for the nation, and we'll be able to, achieve, the peace and security that we crave for.
I read up on something about, we talk about patriarchal societies a lot. I've seen that there are some communities that women they're dominant, even though those communities are less than 10 from what I've seen, whether nations or countries or communities and all over the world, there are not so many today, and that is a significant thing. However, still talking about this particular issue, and gladly, you are more than just Minister of Police Affairs for Women. You are a woman who is in charge of police affairs all over the country, whether they are male police or female police. That disturbing occurrence of a few days ago in Kaduna, how did it reach? How did you take it? How did it affect you? How did you feel about it? Knowing importantly that one, it's children that have been abducted, and two, their mothers are going to be mentally, unstable right now.
We condemn it. It should never happen. I agree with the First Lady. I heard her speak. She condemned it. She called for the most severe punishment for these perpetrators. And I feel that, we must go in that direction, because when they do it and they get away with it, we must go the capital punishment route for people who kind of go after our vulnerable group of people. I can't say things that would jeopardize investigation or operations at this stage. But what I can assure you is that the Safe School program will be reviewed, and we'll continue to work with the subnationals to see that we secure the schools and we put in the right kind of measures to ensure that, these children are well protected in school environment, in communities, in societies. As you may be aware, we've rolled out the community policing engagements. We've always had a system in place, but what we want to do is to strengthen it and to make it more tailored fit, so that communities are alive to their responsibilities. Everybody has a responsibility or obligation towards policing their community, either as an informant or a watchguard or the police officers in those communities. We would like them to work in collaboration to address our security challenges. Because that is Mr. President's priority, working towards our collective prosperity and our national security.
Absolutely. And that is the responsibility of everyone in Nigeria, as you have said, everyone in every community. But that is also the reason we say that the governor of a state is the chief security officer of the state, just as we say that the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So looking from where, you know, the pinnacle you see as Minister of State for Police Affairs in Nigeria, what would be, because this is becoming a little more uncomfortably frequent than normal, than should be. Before this one that we're talking about in Kaduna State now, was it in Borno State or is it Bauchi that we had IDP, an IDP was invaded. 200 women were taken away, confirmed by the United Nations. Do you see a role for state governments to coordinate these communities that you have talked about, fund them, equip them in a way that these things are staved off? Or you think that there are some political undertones that Nigerians shouldn't even hear about?
This has happened. I'm sure the operatives are in the field, ensuring that they rescue the victims. From the policy side, we have to intensify efforts. We have to be very, very intentional about the emergence of a technology-led, of a community-based policing, because that's the only acceptable way of policing. We must engage communities. We must. The police can't be everywhere, but we citizens are everywhere, and we all have an obligation towards ensuring that we're safe. So how can we work with the security operatives in our communities to see that, yes, we are secured? What measures can government put in place to ensure that, you know, that all these things go on, you know, don't go unnoticed? Like you said, it's a large number of people that move, and they cannot just move without any intel or, you know, without anybody seeing them. But some people see and they do not speak. And before you know it, it becomes a very big crisis for everybody. So I feel that we must all come together to work as one in securing our communities and securing our country, because we all have an obligation and we all have responsibility. And like I said, from the policy side, you know, we have policy gaps. We're ensuring that, yes, we address those policies so that there are consequences.
Madam, about 3.5 years ago, we had the End SARS, whereas it called for the abolition of a particular arm of the police force. It's also brought into sharp focus the plight of the Nigerian policeman. Has any improvement been brought to bear on the condition of the Nigerian policeman, or should I say members of the police force?
I'm sure you have your answers, but I'll still, you know, shed a bit of light. There's never been a proper reform since 1999 of the police force. We've had about 8 or about 7 reform papers, but what I can assure you is that there's an ongoing reform, and the ongoing reform will help strengthen policing in the land. It will affect every area of policing in Nigeria. Infrastructural gaps, will address policy gaps, will be able to also strengthen the welfare of the police, would also be able to work on their technical and operational efficiencies, and would also, you know, rebrand the police so that, you know, it's policing by consent, which is the acceptable means of policing globally. So yes, we're working on a reform. It should excite everyone. We're inviting all experts, all well-meaning Nigerians to join us in the process. This administration needs all the support that we can get. A lot of work is being done in the background. We need to support the emergence of the 21st century policing, which is what we deserve as a country.
Somehow, we still see policemen on duty wearing flip-flops. Are they still buying their uniforms and their work boots from their pockets?
We have one of the biggest police force in the world, about 350,000. That is a lot. That is capital intensive for any government.
220 million people?
We're being very creative. I know that it's not enough, but still we have a very big force. It's one of the biggest establishments in Nigeria. So we're doing all we can. We're being very creative. We're challenging the status quo to ensure that we have enough funding. As a country, we can't put all our funds into policing because we have other critical challenges. But what we want to do is to ensure that we have, available funding to be able to address all this. And it has to be a collective effort. Everybody would have to support the emergence of a 21st century police force. The government can't do it alone. The government won't do it alone. It will require whole of society, whole of government, whole of system approach to ensuring that this reform happens and then it is sustained. So yes, we'll kit the police properly, but it won't be the responsibility of only government. Everybody is going to support the process. And that's the system we're trying to put in place.
Madam, one of the things that has been said, even this morning on this program, I think it was even Alera that brought up that fact, and our guest as well, the fact that during this recent abduction that we are talking about, policemen were not even in sight. It couldn't have taken just 60 seconds for 287 children to be moved. It couldn't have taken less than 15 to 20 minutes. And even if they walked, some people must have seen them and police officers must have seen them. We also know that there are intelligence officers in all 774 local government areas of the country. So Nigerians are most certainly going to be asking questions about exactly what happened here. Where were the policemen? Where were the security operatives that all of this sorrow has to come to some women on International Women's Day? Is there anything you can say to us about that?
I'm sure you agree with me that the police officers can't be everywhere. And that's why we all have to be alive to our responsibilities, in every community. And I'm sure you agree that in the last, few months, you've seen the police intensify efforts. It's all due to the emergent strategies that we're deploying in the field. I must commend the IGP with the team. You've seen the launch of the Special Intervention Squad. You've seen them being trained. So a lot is happening, but it cannot all happen at once. And that's why I'm saying that we need all the support from whole of society to ensure that, yes, we achieve the highest form of policing. We are able to achieve the kind of national security, internal security that we require. We're working alongside other, internal security agencies to see that, yes, we have a safe and secure environment, communities across board. So yes, a lot is being done, a lot needs to be done, and trust me, we are all working, all hands are on deck. Okay. And we need everybody to also play their own part, because everybody has a role to play.
There are those who would say maybe these things are happening and there are no consequences, and that is why these things continue. Since 2009, the big abduction of the Chibok girls up until now, the last administration has several hundreds of people abducted per time, sometimes even in a series. This one we're talking about happened days before another one that happened in Borno, yet no consequences yet. What kind of, and I know what the First Lady has said, that there is no power of legislation or authority to what she says. She's just giving counsel. You are Minister of State for Police Affairs. How soon should people expect any response, any significant action? And what kind of consequences do you think should be considered for anyone who abducts another person in our nation?
Like I mentioned, we have policy reforms that is ongoing. These policies will be able to clearly, hold people accountable for their actions. We're working with the Ministry of Justice. We're working with policy experts to see that, yes, we put in the stringent, measures in place so that you know that when you're a criminal mind and you're being caught, you face, the consequences. Okay. And there's been a lot of complacency in the security space. I'm sure you agree, in the past. And there's also a lot of sabotage, from unpatriotic elements. And I can assure you that all measures are being put in place to deter them, because it can't be business as usual. You can't just watch some bunch of unpatriotic people, due to their own selfish reasons, sabotage our security. So measures are ongoing, and a lot will, you see an emergence, very, very strong policies being put in place.
Okay. Well, let's conclude
national
this.
Security and collective prosperity.
Yes. Let's wrap up with this one, madam. You're a woman, and you grew up in this, at least some measure of some parts of this nation. Speak to a young lady, a young woman somewhere in this nation who is also being celebrated as part of this International Women's Day celebration. What is your message to them? To those who are already, whose hopes and hearts are already feigning as a result of the things that they see and hear in our country. What is your word to them? What is your advice? What's your counsel to them on International Women's Day?
My message to every woman and men, because I have 2 sons, there's been an advocacy on, supporting the emergence of strong women. The strong women do need strong men. So my message to the strong women and men is to be alive to their responsibilities. It's an era of nation building. It will require collective efforts. Everybody must play their part. There's no country that is not going through some sort of challenges. But we must believe in our country. We must also be ready to contribute our own bit. It's not enough to criticize. Constructive criticism are welcomed, but you cannot, just highlight problems without highlighting the solutions. You cannot, devoid yourself of playing a part and see it as somebody's responsibility. We are all government. There are people that, yes, are responsible for the policies or for performing the critical functions of government, but everybody has a role to play. So my message in this National Women's Day, with the theme inspiring inclusivity and also investing in women, is that we should inspire by our actions, by our thoughts. We should be careful what we put out there, because some of these things do have security implications. Some of these things, would deter, the right kind of growth that we require as a country. It's an era of being very, very responsible as a Nigerian and very, very patriotic. There's no nation that has grown to its fullest potential without the patriotism of its citizens. So this is a time that we call for support for this administration. We can see very, very strong and intentional policies being rolled out. We must support the emergence of a country that we dream about. And as a woman, we must be alive to our responsibilities within the homes, within the community, and everybody must do their part. It's not a time whereby you just sit down and do nothing. No. We're playing catch-up as a country, so everybody must be on the go, playing their own role. Everyone has a role to play, and we must be alive to those responsibilities.
Thank you so much for being here this morning, Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, Minister of State for Police Affairs, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you very much for having me, and happy International Women's Day to all the women and the viewers.
Okay. Well, we're back right after now. It's still Women's Day. International Women's Day. We'll be right back.
And I believe in me and you. Don't be like you. I'm finna try, but I never could. My girlie wanna be by you, but you know pick up. I wanna make it up to you, my ruby. You shine like a million stars.
Well, it's all about women today, so I'm just assisting.
I was just going to say, please use that your woman voice. the woman voice.
I'm assisting. You know the things that I've done with this voice. Someone will just call me. I just say, hello. Hello. I want to speak with Ayo Makini. Please hold on.
Well, today he's assisting the women, like he said. So, women entrepreneurship is on the rise in Nigeria. You could have fooled me. With more women starting and running businesses than ever before, in spite of everything. in spite of all the challenges, women are still starting businesses and are able to run businesses. Okay, all right.
They are young.
Despite the significant contributions of women entrepreneurs to Africa's economic growth, they face several challenges, as if I didn't know that, including limited access to finance, training, and markets. According to research, women in sub-Saharan Africa are 20% less likely than men to have a bank account and are 17% less likely to have access to formal credit. So how are they doing it? Well, we have two ladies in the studio who are going to let us into the big secret of how more women are going into business and are actually succeeding in business in spite of all the challenges that we know they face. We have Olufunmilayo Ogunniran of Arabinrin Enterprise.
Oh, Arabinrin. Is it Arab? Anyway, she will answer for her.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma.
And thank you. Is it Arabinrin?
Yes, ma. Arabinrin.
Arabinrin Enterprise,
Just
yes.
wanted to be clear.
And we also have Latifat Adelekon of Tea Court Foods, also, and she's also known as Dr. Beans,
Sorry, good morning, Mike. Good morning.
as in Ewa.
Where is your stethoscope?
Okay, so, Dr. Beans, why are you known as Dr. Beans?
So because redefining the potential of beans in Africa,
You are
redefining the potential of beans in Africa through beans education, beans innovation, and preserving the beans heritage. So I'm doing this through my business, Tea Court Foods. Tea as in time, quart as in time, so saving time. So one of the major challenges with beans is the longer time to cook and the gas bloating that comes with it. So we are creating beautiful products for people to have access to beans. So we have ranges of products that you can cook beans fast and you can have access to nutrients available in beans.
You can cook beans faster.
Yes.
How?
So we are launching a particular beans very soon that cooks in, I'm not going to say that now, so it cooks fast. And one thing it also does is the whole bloatness, there's a particular gas, there's a particular content of the beans that allows the bloating and the fats release. So we've done that through biotechnology to reduce.
So you're talking about a different species of beans.
It's not a different species of beans. Innovation.
But it is not Oloyin now.
It's still Oloyin. Innovation doesn't have to be something new entirely. If it is new entirely, it's called invention. So innovation is, improving on what we have as Nigerians.
Okay, we'll talk more about that.
It will not change the taste of the beans.
It will still be sweet.
Yes, it will still
Sweet
be
beans.
So we also have the bean flour. It's a fortified, we call it bean mix. It's fortified with pepper, onion, and crayfish.
It's like you came here to advertise today.
No.
We'll collect money for you.
It's all right. It's all right. Arabinrin, first of all, why is it called Arabinrin?
So when I had my baby, my second baby, I had the postpartum depression. I had to shut down my business. I had to leave my 9-to-5 business, the corporate business, because I loved fashion. I still love fashion. I love helping women look good. However, because of relocation, I had to shut down that business at the time. So I restarted the business. Because the business is focused on helping women bloom, reminding women of their identity, especially wives and mothers. That's how Arabinrin captures it totally. Because in Yoruba, Arabinrin is a title, and it means woman. It means Miss, Mrs. So when I say Arabinrin Alero, that's Mrs. Alero, Miss. So it's a title. However, for us, we coined 3 meanings out of it. So the first one, which is a title, that's Arabinrin. Then the second one is Araobinrin, which is a blend of 2 words. Ara means body, Obirin means woman. So I'm catering to the body of the woman. And eventually, we're trying to make a wonder of that woman. So the third meaning is Ara, Obirin. Ara means wonder. So eventually, I want the wonder in that woman to show forth, to bloom, because women are powerful. However, when they do not recognize it, we relegate ourselves. We, totally put ourselves down, and we have this self-critical stuff that do not let us shine as we should. So Arabinrin is, like I was saying earlier to one
this other lady we met before coming in here, and I said that Arabian is simply a reminder to help you bloom, a reminder of your identity, of who you are, and how tall you should stand, and how you should shine as the light that you are. So I do that through fashion, and my styles or my designs help you to be they're very versatile. So you can style according to your personality without losing who you are, basically.
So what does Arabian Enterprise do?
So we do fashion. I create designs with vibrant fabrics, like indigenous fabrics, Adire, Ankara, sometimes the damask and the silk, to make sure that when you're wearing an Arabian dress, you're as confident as you should be. You are shining. You do not need to worry about anything because you're on top of the world, and you should feel like that. And also because I'm trying to remind women that you deserve everything beautiful.
Okay. So that you don't get an invoice too. Let's talk to the issues that Alero raised earlier, introducing the program. It is significant that businesses have challenges. Is it peculiar for women?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because women most times, face twice as much challenges as the other counterparts.
Why is that?
First, self-criticism.
Self?
Yes, because sometimes we don't think that we deserve what we deserve. So we're usually bringing ourselves back or pushing other people forward except ourselves. And then we hold ourselves to certain standards that we do not give enough grace to ourselves to say, you can actually do this. You should actually be doing this. But we say, well, let them go. I want to support. I want to. So sometimes that self-criticism plays a major role, because a lot of times people would you get as much support as you support yourself. If you do not I cannot be here if I didn't do something with my business. If I stayed at the point of that postnatal depression, if I stayed and like, okay, I'm just called to be a mommy, I'm just going to be mommy, and there are all those things. And then we have certain restrictions that are as a result of biological, because you're mommying, you're going through pregnancy, you're going to childcare. And a lot of times, people they undermine the significance of childcare and how much it takes its toll on women and how much time it requires, how much of your presence it requires. And sometimes we have those challenges because there are societal stereotypes that make you give one at the expense of the other. So you are giving to your career and it seems like you're losing your family. You're taking care of your family, it looks like you're going to lose your career. Or then you give time to your family in your prime, when you should actually, you can't do all those things together, but you want to tend to the children. Yeah, there are people who are called to do that. That's their ministry, that's their work. They can do that. However, there are some women who can merge everything together and still be phenomenal at it. So I'm speaking to those set of people that do not give up. Whatever it is that you're doing, childcare, business, you can do it and you will do it. Forget the stereotypes, forget the restriction. There are people who are doing it. Mama Lero here is an inspiration. Like for our age, we're talking to Ma'am Ekoma earlier, and you were like, it's inspiring to see older women in business, long-standing businesses, thriving despite all the challenges. So biological, societal, and the one that you place on yourself, you have to drop it.
Well, let me boast that she's done this particular program for more than 20 years. So
thank you.
Thank
you so much.
24.
Thank you, ma'am.
24. Wow. Thank you so much.
Okay, but that is one. So this thing is really easy. Any woman that thinks it is easy, just give them the baby to take care for one day only, and then they will recalibrate. But what are those other issues that you think, hinder women in business?
Access to funding.
There's that.
Yes.
Yes.
There's access to funding.
That's number one, isn't it?
Yeah, there's limited access to funding. However, we're grateful that a lot of programs are coming up. Coincidentally, my partner here, we happen to have gone through an accelerator program together that helped us, position our businesses and the personal development, the knowledge we got from that training. So it was a mini MBA, and then it helped us to know what to do on the business and all of that. So access to funding. However, you must be sure that you know what you're doing and rightly position your business to receive.
I say, what are the challenges? You're already solving problems.
I'm sorry. I'm a solution.
Why is it that banks don't want to give women funding?
Okay.
So I would really emphasize on financial literacy, on knowledge of how to manage finances.
For the woman or for the bank?
For the woman.
Okay.
The woman in business.
Because the question you asked.
The bank knows what they're doing.
Okay.
The bank knows who they want to give money, and there are criteria to follow. So you have to put your business in a way that you have an understanding of your income statement. You understand your numbers. Now, aside that, women also need to know that.
So the problem is that a lot of women don't know those things before they
don't know
approach.
the business of what they do. There's something called the art of the business.
Okay.
And the business
of the business. So the heart of the business is you're
very good at it.
The primary aim of
and
every
a
business,
bank wants
they want
documentation
numbers.
like this high.
Documentation.
Numbers, yes.
It might not even be high. It just has to show that your figures are tallying. Whatever you're bringing in, whatever you're selling, whatever you're expensing, you're optimizing costs. You're bringing in more customers. You're onboarding customers every day.
So they want to know that your numbers add up.
They add up. It has to add up. It does not have to be about expansion all the time, but it has to be. The customers are the heart of every business. You have to find a way to keep increasing the numbers of what you're selling. So that's why I set targets for myself, and people think I set high target, but I know what I am doing. So when I set targets, I want to be able to know what I am capable of doing. So whatever result I get from that target this month, then I tell myself, you can do better next month. So a few years ago, I struggled with financial management. But after some of these programs that I attended, I realized that if I do not want to deceive myself any longer, I have to be able. Now, there's one very important thing. Women don't separate business funds from personal funds. That is where the financial literacy comes in. Women women are so emotional. Oh, my children has to eat. Oh, I have to feed my husband. It's natural. But I had to come in terms with the business is the business. A man would never touch a fund that he does not want to touch. If he will tell you, keep in view. My father will say, keep in view, whatever you want to do, KIV. But a man, so I had to find a way to be a logical woman. I call myself a logical woman. Yes, you have that empathetic side of you, but you have to understand that you are running a business. You are a well-taught leader. So it depends on how women want to see their business. If you want to see your business as a buy and sell, good. You continue to buy and sell. But for me, I want to build a third generational business, and I have to start now. So no matter how long it takes me to grow, I make sure that I do everything right.
You know,
so that's where T-Court is heading.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Time. Okay. Now, there's something that Alera said the other time about women in rural communities. They have children in semi-urban or urban parts of Nigeria and all those things. How do we translate some of these things you're talking about to them so that they themselves, we want people to come up from under the poverty line?
Yes. So I feel like this is a very big opportunity. Entrepreneurs are people that solve problems. So I see a business in what you just mentioned. Social entrepreneurs. I feel like I'm going to charge social entrepreneurs, the people we call social entrepreneurs, to take charge of these things. There are so many ways you can infuse tech and, take it back to these women in these communities. Look for what they do as a form of skill, onboard them, pay them, and there's a way. So women should also be big on collaboration. I'm very big on collaboration for people that know me too well. Collaboration are one of the ways to survive challenges as a business in Nigeria, because sometimes you might want to source for raw materials and you don't have like a lot of money. But there are other women that use that same raw material that you use. So if you go together, buy the raw materials together, you don't know my trade secrets. You can't know my trade secrets. It's safe with me. And the truth is, women are so competitive. We need to bring our guards down. There are ways to work and not be competitive.
You think that is possible? Anyway, and that's the subject for a symposium. Talk to us about the challenges of culture for women in business.
Oh, that's a very big one. So, yes, the culture, there are so many cultures. There's the religious culture, there's the, traditional culture, and you are expected to, be in your house. There are some...
And in the room.
And the other room, yeah. And you're expected to be in your house, and, so I will hear some people say, you don't have any business doing anything. But they forget that you have to build yourself, and there are different ways to build yourself. And so I used to ask myself, do you prepare yourself for unforeseen circumstances? Anything can happen. The so-called partner you have can die one day, God forbid.
God forbid you.
God forbid.
Don't go there yet. Your take on culture for women?
I said earlier about stereotypes, and there are certain expectations that the society places on women. The first thing, like I said earlier, is to drop it.
Are you sure, my apologies, are you sure it's not the women themselves?
It is.
I'd said that earlier, that it is the one, that's why I said about the self-criticism, inhibitions that we put on ourselves.
Self-doubt.
So, but nobody is going to bring you out of that thing if you do not come out of it yourself. So all these expectations that is placed on us is because you have accepted them. It's because you want to live by them. It's because you are indulging in it. But if you sit down and say, this is cultural stuff, it doesn't apply to me, I can decide. You see, sometimes we women don't know how to be by ourselves. We don't know how to stand on our own when it seems like we are against the norm. And so sometimes we do, if you cannot beat them, you join them. Sometimes don't beat them, don't join them, stand on your own. Be you. In a world where everybody is being every other person, be yourself.
You know what this brings to my mind? The first female driver in Nigeria. The first woman who drove a car in Nigeria. Women had never driven cars in Nigeria, and she just decided, balls. What says a woman cannot drive a car? There's nothing that says so. So I'm going to learn to drive.
Right. We need to take on opportunities. Sadly, there are a lot of opportunities that we are not taking. So sometimes it's not even the fact that there are no opportunities. It's the fact that we're not stepping up to them. Because of sometimes the cultural stereotypes, restrictions, and say women can't do this, or if you go there, she's going to fail, or and a lot of times too, like I was telling you earlier, the support system also plays a major role in how far a woman is going to go. So you need to get to that point as a woman to say, I'm going to do this, I'm doing this. Because a lot of times you get to the end and discover that you should have actually tried. You could have done something. Sometimes it's too late.
Okay. Dr. Beans.
Yes, ma'am.
Does government have any initiatives or programs that actually support women who want to become entrepreneurs?
There are a couple of initiatives that I've come across that the government supports.
Okay.
So, but one thing I would just like to say is, it's enough to have this initiative, but it's enough to do like a follow-up. There's something about Nigerians generally. There's laxity sometimes. So it's not good enough that some people put these things together and the results, there's supposed to be a KPI. There's supposed to be something you want to get at the end of the day. And the result is not, you're not getting the result. So I think it's just to get more results from these things, follow-ups, and then...
But you consider the initiatives as progressive?
Yes, to a certain extent. I will.
And women are benefiting from them?
Yes, women are benefiting. Recently, the Lagos Food Hub, a lot of women are benefiting from that.
Yes, yes.
And the woman that is...
Unfortunately, it opens only on Saturdays.
I think it's with time.
For Saturday,
yes. So it's going to get better, when you're starting off something.
Are you involved in that?
I'm not, surprisingly, but I follow it because I'm in the food space. So.
Okay, you have gone to shop there?
Yeah, I have friends that shop there. I have not.
Have you shopped at the Lagos Hub?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I think I need to go to that place. I hear the food is very cheap.
Yes, yes,
I hear.
So.
Yes, everybody.
Yes, same
you
we
hear,
heard.
you hear.
So
and
we'll do that. Definitely, we have to see it, and we have to also give our
one
own.
in Sabongiri.
There's only one in Lagos for now, and it's
No, I'm talking about.
No, but the governor said they're going to open up, I think, 34 more.
All over the city of Lagos.
All over Lagos, yes.
Okay. Please
So, Governor, we can't wait.
let them put security. Let me. And then we have barely 4 minutes to go on this one. Please, let's look into the future. Let me start with you on that. There are young ladies in churches, in mosques, who take some initiative. What kind of support do they need? There's some young lady who anytime she sees me in church, she coming to sell this bottle that is not hardly up to 50 cl, and it's just squeezed juice, and it's billing me 1,000 naira. Jesus. Anyway.
Fruit juice.
Yes, freshly squeezed juice.
Because fruit is expensive.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Fruit is expensive.
Am I the one that is?
Oranges are 3 for 100 naira.
By force. Anyway, so what kind of support do young women need that will help them do what you have said, and be able to hold themselves in society, and if and where necessary, go against the grind?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So, when I was preparing for this session, I had about 4 words in mind: the support, the education, empowerment, and mentorship. There are about 4 ways to invest into the coming generation and how to see a difference. So you're going to support them with however you can support them. You're going to educate them. Education is one thing that is lagging behind, and that's because we commonize some things. My father used to say that common sense is not common. And initially, I thought it was an insult, but I had come to realize that it actually isn't. And that's because there are some things that people do not know that we assume that they know. So we will not stop educating. You will not stop empowering in your own way. And lastly, mentorship. We need to take on more of these youngsters, these people under our wings, and mentor them. They need to learn about how to structure a business. They need to learn how to scale the business. And you don't need to be up there before you begin to teach them. I have interns at my store presently. They are doing their COS, and I totally love them because I've had to pour into them, tell them how this business runs and what they can do differently, and how to see things and how to be a difference in the fashion industry. And I'm not even, quote unquote, I've not blown yet, but we don't wait
You're
until...
on channels. You see, I'm not blown.
Thank
Let me ask you this question. Mental health. You are not an expert.
No.
But do you ever contend with some things that challenge your mental health? How do you deal with it?
So, yes, I'm not an expert, but I've been through, postpartum depression. And of course, sometimes...
You as well?
Yeah.
It's a thing, an absolute thing.
So sometimes, aside that, running a business too is mentally draining. But there's one thing I'm very grateful for in life: my friends. I have very good
Support
circle of
system.
women, support system. And my husband and my family. Then I do not joke with,
Self-care.
self-care. This year, I prioritize self-care a lot. And
What do you mean by self-care?
so usually I'm that woman that we don't have a boy. So I was trained by a very strict father. So beauty is not a thing. You just need to be, pass your exams and that's it. But I realized that this year I went to shop for, nice perfumes, body
creams.
lotions. And I do it morning and night, and I'm shocked. And when I'm done, I just sit down, watch TV a bit, and I go to sleep. And then it gave me, I began to love myself more.
Absolutely.
Confidence came along too.
I'm a very confident person, but there are some days I just go blank. But right now, I'm not that person that if something I believe it, if I don't have control over that thing, I just leave it. Then I ask for help. So women also need to ask for help. Women don't like to ask for help. they don't like to ask for support. Women need to be big on asking for help. And that's why you have to choose your friends. Just sometimes my friends will just call me, are you okay? Okay, order for food. I'll pay. I don't know. You have to choose your friends. You have to be very big on. Then I'm very big on networking. You have to have value to be able to get value. I must say that some women don't think about what they can offer. They think everything is about money. Sometimes somebody just needs you to say sweet words to them.
Yeah.
They just need to check on them.
Yes.
So you have to be big on network. Don't think everybody does not want to be your friend. No. And don't think you can't be friends with anybody.
So that the head can swell small.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it here today. There's still a lot that we can talk about.
We'll come another time.
You know. Thank you very much. Arabinrin Enterprise, Olufunmilayo Ogunniran, and Tequart Foods, Dr. Beans, Latifat Adelekon. You and I are going to talk a lot more about these beans later. Thank you very much for coming on this occasion of Women's International Day.
Thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day.
Sunrise, we'll be right back. And we'll be looking at women in governance. It's still about the women. See you shortly.
See you.
It's all women. Again, you can be sure that I had to tell the producer, just call the director, just come to us. These women enjoy their own company, and it's good. If you are a woman, a man, and you are sensible, once women take over government, pack your load and
just go
in your own interest. All right, so we want to talk about women in development and nation building right now. Achieving gender equality and women's well-being in all aspects of life is more critical than ever if we want to create a prosperous economy and a sustainable nation anywhere we find ourselves. Well, the United Nations has its own thing. The world has its own thing. Every nation has its own peculiarity. Wasn't it last week we were told, Alera, that you define corruption per your own country?
Yes.
What it means in the Federal Republic of Alero.
It is not what it means in Federal Republic of Ayo.
It's okay. But women are the same all over the world. Well,
Yes, they are.
Their challenges may be peculiar. Let's have this conversation this morning with Olaton Gabby Williams, who is founder of Borders Literature for All Nations and founding partner, United Nations Sustainable Development Book Club, African Chapter. Thank you for your time this morning. As well as Ngove Ihembe Wankwo, who is ED Business Development Nigeria Interbank Settlement System PLC, and she's also a member of the Board of Trustees of WIMBIS. Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, so we want to talk about women in development and nation building. Let me begin with you. I still wonder why it seems that when we talk about women, generally, the issues are peculiar. Not in a bad way, not in a bad light, but shouldn't it be taken for granted, or is it too simplistic to say once you qualify, just get the job done, as opposed to once you qualify and you're a woman, just get the job done?
So an interesting perspective, and I think you're among three women, so I tread carefully with some of those comments. But no, I joke. I think women and men have peculiarities. I think where we need a bit more advocacy and understanding is the fact that women's lives, unfortunately, require a lot more, there are many more nexuses. So the average woman typically is a caregiver for her parents, or elderly relatives, okay? Now, that is whether or not she's married. Now, if she's married, she then is a support system and partner to her husband. And the majority of the household work falls on her. If she has children, that's multiplied. Now, when you factor all of that in, and then you come into a society that already has implicit bias against women, then you find that the barrier is that much higher. And so you can't then, as you said, just assume that things should work. You then have to peel back the layers to identify what exactly are those barriers. What are those things holding women back from achieving their full potential? And I always say, a woman can choose to be in a kitchen, it's fine. She can choose to be in a boardroom, it's fine. What is important is it should be her choice. She should be allowed to achieve the fullest potential of her capacity without there being somebody else putting a barrier that is hindering her from going there. And that's what the work that most of the women groups do, is to ensure that those barriers are removed or reduced substantially.
Isn't it about time, Mrs. Gabby Williams, that we reviewed that perspective? Because, I don't know, there are those who believe that the world has gotten to where it is now because it's the men that have led. So isn't it about time we considered differently and take samples or data of where countries or nations or communities where women led and things were different? Or is it, you think it's not just about the gender, it's about the person?
I think gender does play a role in it. I mean, historically, we've been confined, fairly around the world, confined to domestic spaces. We're the caregivers, we're the nurturers. I think we've actually done very well in Nigeria. And I come from the Yoruba tribe, and we're particularly empowered. But I think maybe one of the problems is that we're leaving it to other people to gather data for us. I was reading some advice given by a publishing consultant to emerging publishers who are trying to proactively seek promotions within their organizations. He said, you have to keep a running list of all the contributions you have made to the growth of your company, so that when you're seeking promotion, you can build a solid business case. And I think that principle applies, that we have to take charge of gathering the kind of data about ourselves, tangible evidence that builds the case for our inclusion and representation at different levels of government, for instance, in the companies we work in. Yeah. But
maybe I should even ask this question of both of you before we continue. It's International Women's Day. Yesterday was International Women's Day yesterday. It is Mother's Day?
Mothering Sunday tomorrow.
Okay. See the difference? Oh God, man, you have only one in a year. Anyway, so is it tokenism for you? Or you think it actually gets its prime of place or pride of place?
Can you rephrase the question?
Is it tokenism to just have International Women's Day and have a theme to it? Or you think it actually does get its pride of place, its significance?
I think it is significant because it achieves various things. Number one, we have a day where we can celebrate women's achievements. We have a day where we can get together and establish how far we still need to go, how far we come, and how far we still need to go. It's our day given to us for these kinds of discussions. I think that's very, very important. And the entire world is mobilized around this day. Here we are in Nigeria. They're just as mobilized anywhere else in the world around this day. Yeah, I think, I don't think it's tokenism at all. I think it's very important.
No, but Tone, in 50, 80, 100 years from now, do you think there's still going to be anything like International Women's Day? Because right now, we're having more women heading states. So, I mean, my belief is that the numbers are going to increase as time goes on. So there'll be no specific spotlight. It will be like it's normal. If you have an election, it's either a man wins or a woman wins, because the women are going to be there, contesting in large numbers as much as the men are. So we're going to have more women heading states. You probably will go to a heads of states conference, and there'll be probably, 50 men and 40 women. So as the numbers increase, will there still be a need for an International Women's Day?
I think we mustn't forget that there are people, their demographics, who are hidden, and their suffering is off stage. You're talking about these people, they're very visible. Political candidates, they're very much on stage, they're very visible. So we have to look at pockets of poverty that will continue to exist for probably a long time. We mustn't be utopian idealists. I think we should aspire to utopian ideals, but we must also be really grounded. There will be these huge swathes of poverty where a lot of inequities, injustices are being sustained against that kind of grain, against that movement forward. So yes, what International Women's Day will start to do is to look for those pockets, those unreached swathes of human population, and start talking in terms of their needs.
But do you
So I mean,
do you agree?
I agree with her, but I have a different view to whether it's tokenism and whether International Women's Day will still be necessary.
Okay.
So, taking us back a little bit to the history of International Women's Day, the movement started in 1908. I think that's more than 100 years ago. And it was because 15,000 women took to the streets in New York, marching for equal pay, better working conditions. And 116 years later, we are still talking about discriminatory practices, a regression and a rollback in civil liberties for women across the world, especially in Nigeria. When you look at the statistics in political representation, we have regressed. I believe we're currently just below 4% female representation in political office in a country where there's arguably more women than men when you look at the overall numbers. So I do think that International Women's Day is in danger of becoming a little bit of a token that's given to women to make us quite happy and jolly one day in the year. And then once the month of March rolls away, all the budget spend that was allocated to doing parties and, T-shirts and doing banners, just gets hidden away again. And then for 11 months, we go quiet until next year. And I think it's really critical, particularly for Nigeria, and given where we are on so many of the indexes where we are just ranked pretty much bottom of the class on every social developmental index across the world, that we have to ask ourselves why, what is the problem? And Nigeria has done well in the corporate space. So when you compare us to many other countries, we do have women as captains of industry. We do have women in some parts of Nigeria that have equal access to education, are allowed to continue education and then aspire and get jobs. However, look outside that space. When we look at even entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs are still more likely to remain micro and not scale their business. When you look at women in all the different tiers of political representation, I don't believe we have a female governor yet. And even a female deputy governor seems to be out of our reach.
But we've had one.
No, we have. I'm talking about right now. So I think for me, and we really need to then decide for ourselves what direction we want the country to go in.
Perhaps one of the challenges here is engaging women themselves. Alero here has spent decades as a broadcaster. I've spent some decades as well as a broadcaster. One of the things that we have seen is that even though men do it, they try to pull each other down to get up there, it happens with women too, perhaps even more fiercely in some cases. So some would say that the number one enemies of women against this thing that you're saying is women themselves. So can we gather them in this month? All these women. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is these women are wives of men who want to get into office. So how do we have this conversation in a way that women will be able to say, husband, stay there, I'm supporting a woman?
So I think the first thing is to thank channels, because you do this every March. And like I said, I think I've been here once or twice in the past. So the first thing is educating and getting the messaging out right. And when you have programs like this, hopefully there are many women watching and it's piquing their interest, and men watching as well. So I think education is key. In my experience, and we were hotly debating this before we came in here with the two ladies you had before us, I think that the narrative around women not supporting women is wrong. I think that women are not given as much grace to fail. I think there are a number of men that we can talk about that are vicious in the way that they compete and pull each other down. But the narrative is not that men are not supporting men. The fact that people are competitive is not gender specific. It's a product of the environment in which we work in, whether you're a man or a woman. However, as WIMBIZ, we do run a number of programs. We have mentorship programs for entrepreneurs as well as women trying to get on boards to help them to work better with each other and with men. We've got connect programs that bring women together where we network, we talk about these topical issues, we try to change perspectives and thought leadership. We also have empowerment programs, and we advocate by getting the message out that we're stronger together. But I do want to change the narrative because we hear it a lot. And in my personal and professional experience, that has not been the case. I have been equally supported by men and women. Okay. And I've also been equally pulled down by men and women. So I can't blame one gender.
Okay. Do you agree with her on that, women supporting women or not?
Yeah, I think that, we talk a lot about collaboration and solidarity. And you've got two levels here. We've got the conceptual level, which I think actually does work. We do collaborate, and we do, but at the sort of more sort of domestic level, in the interpersonal level, we do pull each other down. And that's sort of, this side of paradise, it probably won't change. We go to self-help, we do workshops to get beyond this kind of really futile, directionless competitiveness, really negative. But the conceptual level is still important, and the level of organizations like WIMBIZ, WISCA, Women in Successful Businesses, Careers, which I was very impressed. I was introduced to WISCA through an event they had in September 2022, I think, where it was in partnership with Chimamanda Adichie. And they invited female political candidates to outline their campaigns, their agendas moving forward, and encouraged us to sponsor, to support with money. And I thought that it was such a practical, effective way to do it. It was a lovely venue. They tabled their agendas very clearly. We had some short, lovely, really professional videos. And I really liked that interface between the sort of the private sector, the business world, and politics.
And the women still didn't make any impact.
Well, Ireti got through. Ireti Kingugbe got through. That was nice meeting her, listening. But it was just a very proactive initiative. And so I think that kind of thing, that was quite exceptional. But I think that kind of thing does take place. Solidarity events, women supporting women. But I think what we really need to do, women, is address interpersonal. The interpersonal toxicity when your friend is moving forward. We have to have a frame of reference for being able to process success in our friends that doesn't detract from our own progress. We seem to think if you progress, that means there's less for me. We have to work on that way of looking at the world around us, looking at this thing called success. I think that we have to address those. Yes. I
like that. Earlier, you talked about the rural area when you were answering Arlera's question about the future and all of that. Getting down to brass tacks, getting to the rural areas, to the rural communities. How does this kind of conversation you're talking about now, this kind of initiative, this consideration you're making, how do we pass that down there? Because I don't know if there is a WIMBIZ in a particular local government somewhere in other parts of Nigeria. So that's perhaps one of the things you're talking about when you're talking about this interpersonal toxicity. Probably some would say, even though they are communal in those communities, when it comes to interpersonal, this can be an issue. How do we cascade this kind of information there?
I think through the, religious institutions, churches and mosques, and I think that they're being underutilized. I also I'm a trustee of an Alzheimer's Foundation, and we started working, in these fora. Because that's where the people congregate, where the religious institutions, and regularly So you can do it on different scales. They have their sort of cell groups, fellowship groups. So if you want to target smaller groups, which is also very effective, you can sit there and mentoring about life itself. Because I think that's what we have a wrong apprehension, a misapprehension about what life is about. And this idea of the shrinking asset, this national cake, this shrinking, we have to reverse that way of looking. And I think a lot of the problem, I keep on saying that it needs to be addressed at that level. And I think that religious institutions, not because you're going to preach to them, but because it's a forum where people gather. People gather. I think that, yes, that's how we can get all this information cascading down and traveling across all the borders in a nation. Yeah.
Okay, well now, so making progress now, I mean, we're talking about development and nation building here. What part of this, so I'm going to ask you maybe a little difficult question. It's a question that I've asked all morning. We talked about security. I was asking, one of the questions I was asking, what peculiarity will come into our security architecture in the country with women in charge or with more women in the space? For you as well, what would be different if we had more women in corporate governance, more women in elective posts? What difference will it make?
So, all the studies have shown, I think you asked a question earlier about this as well.
Yeah.
We were sort of asking for examples of where women had been in leadership and what the outcome has been. And the studies suggest that when you have women in leadership, we have less conflict, we have better emotional intelligence, we have sustainability of earnings, less short-termism, and they don't take as many risks. Now, that tells me that there's a place for women and men because you need to take risks to make money, But I think specifically when you look at having more women in leadership in Nigeria, politically, for me, it would mean less conflict. I think women are better able to have conversations without resorting to pulling a gun. And we see that all around the world. There's so many wars being started as we speak. And if you look at the leadership of those countries, what you would find is quite a lot of testosterone. So I do believe that there's a role that women play in calming and rationally having conversations. And I think that would help from a security perspective. I think when we then look at women in, economic leadership positions, I think you would see less short-termism, a better goal in creating long-term sustainable growth and development, which is where Nigeria needs to be heading. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need men, and I'm not saying that it's certainly not a gender war, but I think that there's a place for both. And at the moment, there are not enough women, and that's why we are seeing a lot of the issues we're seeing. So we'll see a better Nigeria, a more secure Nigeria, a more vibrant Nigeria, a more economically prosperous, and a more equitable society.
Anyway, when you talk about women being more temperate, the picture that came into my head straight away is a woman called Margaret Thatcher. But don't even talk about that one right now.
Can I say something to I think that the nurturing gaze of a woman embodies protectiveness, sustaining what there is. Men, hunters, go out and grab. I'm not saying we don't have aggression, I'm not saying that, but that's probably environmentally produced, is induced by the environment. I think that gaze would actually reduce outbreaks of armed conflict, those kinds of skirmishes, because we have that way of looking, protecting, sustaining, keeping things intact,
which is natural,
safe, which is natural to us. So that, I think, that woman's gaze, I think that you have a very valid point there. If we had more of us at that level, we'd be less warmongerish. Yes, I definitely think so.
Now, what unique perspectives or approaches do women leaders bring to nation-building efforts?
So I'll take myself, for example, and my professional capacity. and I work for sort of a financial technology company, where we're forced to take quite interesting decisions. We're forced to juggle quite a number of things. And I find that working in tandem with the gentlemen that sit alongside me, there's almost a yin and a yang. And there's that perspective to say, wait, can we hold on a little bit? Is this the right course? What is the impact on stakeholders going to be? How do we get our staff to become more engaged? And it's just as valuable and as valid as pushing the products and ensuring that we are grabbing market share. But you can't do all of that without the staff, without the engagement, without stakeholder management, without thinking about the long-term impact of a decision. And I think when you have women in the position of political leadership, you get that perspective. You sit down to make laws and bills. There is no way that you can have a bill or a law that benefits the entire country if you only have one perspective. The same thing with innovation. Innovation requires ideas to solve problems. If you only have one perspective to a problem, there's no way that what you innovate is truly going to solve the problem, because you haven't brought that diversity of thought, of perspective, of ideas. And so it's about, how do we pull? You can't fly a plane with only one engine. That's what we're doing. You're putting a plane in the sky and only one side is firing. The other side is at 10% or 2% because you're not engaging and involving them. I think that's what is missing.
But then it means that significant communication is lost, isn't it?
Yes.
So at what point did we lose it, and how do we bring that back? Because there are those who talk about patriarchal society now. I'm saying, look, this is just some orientation in somebody's head, right? Can't it be reversed?
The scary thing for me is I don't think this is how it's always been. Mm-hmm. When I sort of read about Nigerian history and I look at, even in the rural areas, the way that they operate, specifically you look at the women's groups have always been very strong in keeping law and order.
Yes.
Even in solving issues. They've been very strong. So somewhere along the line, we've lost that link. And we've relegated women to domestic servitude. And I think that, as she said, making sure that we are talking about this in the various religious establishments, but also that we're educating children very young. So one thing we've also lost is civic education, is history. That needs to come back very urgently.
Okay. You wanted to add to that?
Yes, I do. I'm one of the founders of the UN SDG Book Club African chapter, and the gender equity list. I'm very proud of that, the reading list. We target children ages 6 to 12 years plus. And on that list, we have a lovely little book for the very youngest children, about 5, 6, called Father Snail, where Mummy has gone out and Daddy and they're sort of at home, completely at a loss. What do we do now? We're so dependent on Mummy. And so they become resourceful and they sort of work it out in their own sort of crazy way. And this is a way of reversing the gender stereotyping and the lack of fluidity in roles. Men can cook, clean, do all those things as well. And I thought it was such a sweet, lovely story, way of introducing this, reversal of gender, stereotypical gender roles to little children. So we target little children deliberately, because everything starts with the child. You've got child development; it's a foundation of adult development, human development. So we make sure we curate the most sort of ingenious reading lists that really communicate these principles to children in a way that will stay with them and expand them, because this is where to do it. There's a book on that list also called Rude Awakening, which showcases the traditional Igbo inheritance rights. And she wrote it for young children and young adults, actually, because, it starts with them. If we can change their mind, they're going to grow up into adults who won't perpetrate such barbarism against their mothers and their sisters and their aunts, you know. So, yes, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, but, you know, I want to ask you your own question now about this very issue that you have raised. Our democracy is 24 years old. It's 25 this year, right? And the child born 1999 is 25 this year. So, in another 25 years, we'll be celebrating 50 years of Nigeria's democracy, God willing. What should we do now to the newborn? How should we plan for that fellow, that young child? What developmental initiatives should we come up with at the family level, at the societal or community level, at the state level, at the national level, to ensure that that fellow, by the time he or she is 25, is actually a nation builder and not another nuisance to society?
I've just explained that we have fantastically well curated reading lists. They need to read books that address these issues and read them in as engaging a format as possible. The reading culture needs to be addressed. We need to really promote the reading culture. That is the secret. That is how you learn high quality books. Addressing all, you know, economic justice issues, social justice issues, environmental justice issues.
So we need to come up with as a nation or as a state, we need to come up with plans along that line.
Have book clubs in every library. The network of book clubs and reading promoters are working on that now with, you know, advocating to government. Have rehabilitate libraries, have book clubs in every libraries, introduce fun, illuminating activities in the classroom, addressing these issues, do a lot of role play, get the children out and about doing projects, you know, get the children interfacing with local government chairman, for instance, get them visiting, you know, supervise with the teacher, and get them going to talk to local government chairman about, say, you know, single-use plastics, you know, environmental, you know, degradation, all that kind of thing. You know, I think that's through the existing structures of schools, through existing structures of rehabilitated libraries, and you know, channel activities and awareness creation through those means.
You know, motherhood is quite a tricky one, right? And as you said earlier, the mother has to combine her career with motherhood, with wifing, or is it wifehood? You know. But the children are very, very important.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, in fact, there is a Yoruba saying that a good child is the father's.
Of course.
The other one belongs to the mother.
Meanwhile, he hardly had a hand in the matter.
Okay. So what are the challenges young mothers? In the course of the week, I don't know if you listened to that episode of Sunrise Daily. In the course of the week, we read a newspaper report, I think it's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, that the span of widows in our nation, Nigeria, span between 23 and 40s.
Yes.
That was shocking,
yes,
and disturbing. So what are the things that young mothers need to pay attention to now in the light of this, you know, International Women's Day, so that they can raise the kind of children they want to see in the future?
So I think, as she said, education is very important. That's the only way you can really open and broaden minds. So as mothers, it would be to, as they raise their kids, encourage the kids to have as diverse a reading habit as possible and perspectives. I think for the mothers themselves, you know, children, they do what they see. So we have to be intentional in our own behavior. You can't behave in one way and say something else. There's an incongruence and the kids will be confused. So if you want to raise children that are going to be independent and able to achieve, whether boys or girls, and for boys as well that you're hoping be more open-minded and will embrace gender parity, it has to start from the home. They've got to see their mother and their father behaving as equal partners in the relationship, because you have to role model these things. And I think beyond that as well, mothers have to speak up. When you see something that isn't done right, one of the things that we often do is we look away. Let me not say. I did not see. But the kids are watching. So you've got to also be quite vocal in what you stand for and what you stand against. And I think the last thing for me is that it's such a tough world for mothers and fathers too, to be honest. Everything is tough. We have to go easy on each other. We have to support each other. And we need to take time to self-care. Because if you don't have anything in you, you can't pour out.
Yeah.
So you've got to take the time to recharge.
And Tom, in light of what just happened a few days ago in Kaduna, where those children were abducted, 287 of them, even though we hear that 50 of them have been brought back, you're both saying to us that education is very important. Now, those women who have lost, well, not lost in the sense of not to death, to abduction, who have lost their children, if they now decide they're never going to let the other children they have go to school, what would you be saying to them?
Well, this is a right to protection issue. It's a safety issue, isn't that? But that's what we're talking about now. It's a safety issue. But I would address that to them. I would address that don't get confused. They're two different things. What we have to do, I understand your fears. What we have to do is safeguard your children. And then, you get the local governments involved, and you get the resources you need to make sure that safeguarding is in place. And so you address it from that point of view and let them see that this is not a school issue. This is a safeguarding issue. The children need to go to school, because I also think that a lot of the things that happen are because needs are not being met, psychological needs are not being met, psychosocial needs. We talk about really sort of violent patriarchy. We talk about, machismo on steroids. And I think a lot of this kind of abductions are perpetrated by people with these kinds of pathologies. And don't quote me, because I'm not, but that's for one. I think that is the word, So we have to address that. We have to address the specific needs that are not being met, which lead to this kind of behavior, So that brings me back to the point I really need to make when we're talking about International Women's Day, the Day of the Girl Child. We have to remember the boy child, and we have to remember the needs that they have that may be neglected, and there's a reason why they're always expressing themselves. Well, not always. I mean, they express themselves so often in these very sort of hostile, aggressive ways. They're acting out. They're imposing. There's something they need that isn't being met. And there is a Day of the Boy Child. I can't remember the specific day. Is it June or? I think that that's something. If we're going to achieve gender parity, we mustn't leave out the boy child, because the boy child, he's the perpetrator of all our woes, according to so many of the conversations. Exactly. So let's meet their needs, and we may discover that things start to fall into place the way they should.
Sometimes it's the woman that will say, "But my boyfriend, he beat me." Like, go and fight that. Anyway, don't even let's go get into that one this morning.
Well, we are the ones who say that the boys don't do housework because they're boys, and the girls, you go and sweep and you go and cook,
yes.
And the boys out playing football. We're the ones who put the ideas in their heads. Yeah. So we must also call ourselves to order.
Agree with me. Governor Yembe Wankwo, ED Business NIBS and member Board of Trustees Wimbis, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
As well as Tom Gabby Williams. Where's the paper I used to introduce you the other time? Well, thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Next is the home stretch. Guess who the guest is? Another
Guess
woman.
who's coming to dinner?
You mean to the next segment? Another woman.
We'll be right back.
Expecting our guest to be wearing exactly what she's wearing, Abby.
Well, you saw her photo, and if you don't know who she is, boo on you. She's a Nigerian actress, singer, and model, and she's the daughter of popular Nigerian actor and filmmaker Kunle Afolayan. She's following an even longer line of footsteps from her grandfather, Adeyemi Afolayan, popularly known as Adi Love, the prolific actor, and her father, Kunle Afolayan, and her uncle, Gabriel Afolayan.
That area.
Wow.
That area boy.
That one is a pretty big pair of shoes to fit into. Eyiyemi Afolayan, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you.
Anything for the boys?
Nothing.
Just something that just came. Do you feel that there's a burden on your shoulder being an Afolayan?
Well, not particularly because I look up to my dad a lot, and since I was a child, he's always shown us the way, I've watched my grandpa's movies, and I can see that there's definitely a development from the way my grandpa used to make his movies to how my dad makes his movies. And I know that because in few years to come, I'm going to be a very big filmmaker myself, and I'm going to do better.
Okay.
By God's grace.
Your grandfather used stage and props a lot. Your father is using graphics and you'll be using AI.
By then, technology will be advanced, and everything will be advanced by then.
Correct, babe. Correct, babe.
How does it feel to play a role in a movie your dad is making? There are those who will find it difficult working with their dad on set. And he's not, I can tell he won't take it easy on you either. So.
Well, it was really interesting. It was seamless. I enjoyed being on my dad's set, because we already have a bond and a relationship. A father and daughter relationship. We're
he
very
didn't shout
close.
at you on set at all?
At all. He made me very comfortable, He made it very seamless for me. We would go over scripts together. I think I've said this before. We would go over scripts together. We would rehearse together. He made it professional. He can't shout at his other actors, but he made it really professional, and he made me very comfortable. If I missed a line, he would say, take it over again, until it was perfect. But I didn't have to, have so many takes because I'm an actress, a pro actress, A pro.
A pro. Show me a confident actress, and I will show you a
Hey, I don't blame you.
She's an Afolayan after all.
It's in the blood.
I agree with you, absolutely.
You drank the water of acting?
When you were born.
Yes.
No. That's not, I didn't say it correctly. Not at birth.
At birth.
Yatawambe.
Not when.
She's at birth.
Are you sure?
From my mother's womb.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, talk to us about. First of all, talk to us about your role in the Akeredolu series. How did it feel being one of the youngest on set and having to work with all those so many veterans in the Akeredolu series? How did it feel?
Not to lie, I was, overwhelmed at first. But I'm a confident person, so I didn't really think much of it. I knew I would be able to fit in. I have a good character. I'm well brought up. I'm respectful. So there was no need to feel like, oh, I don't want to cross this person's path. I don't want to do this and that. And I like the fact that everybody on set made me very comfortable. They didn't treat me like I'm auditioning, that type of thing. They came down to my level in a way. I was able to, warm up to them, and it was just it didn't even seem like I was the youngest on set at some point. Momishola Shobowale, she took up the motherly role on set for me. Bimbo Adimoye, she took up the sisterly role. Everybody on Akeredolu sets became one big family. So it was just like I'm the baby of the house on the set. So it was, I at first I felt overwhelmed, but along the line, I was very comfortable.
Like the theater arts has that creepy thing. No matter what set, the first thing you guys do is just bond first.
Straight away.
Yes.
I mean,
Straight away.
Yes.
even if you are going to fight in the midst of family matter and then you finish it and then anyway. So,
Was that your first movie?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
oh,
Okay. So, have you been invited to other sets after that?
Yes, I have, but I'm schooling currently. I'm still 18, so I'm still trying to balance my school life with my career. It was easy for me to be on my dad's set because it was during summer. We shot during summer.
Okay.
So I didn't have to.
You were on
of
holiday.
School. Yeah.
Okay.
But other projects, I would have to, skip school. And my school, they do attendance. If you miss a certain percentage, you cannot write exam. And right now, my school education is my focus. But I will be done in 2 years. So when I'm done, definitely I'll be in the industry fully.
What are you studying?
Mass communication.
Why am I not surprised?
Why not theater arts?
The school, actually, I would have said the school I go to doesn't offer, but I could have gone to another school.
Exactly. You could have gone to one school that does offer theater arts.
So since I'm already on the track of acting, filmmaking, I also love talking to the mass. I like hosting, talking to people, pep talk, and all of that. So it's like I could do my master's. I could do theater arts in my master's, but right now I just want to do mass communication, gain more knowledge about it, and build up more confidence on how to speak to people.
You are also a singer and model. We'll come to that. But
yes.
Now, are you challenged? Well, I know that your dad would have given, I'm sorry, I know you maybe at some point you enjoy the groove of, being understudying your dad and all, but you're coming into an industry that's, is not a family industry, but it's one in which the family is well known. Are you challenged by the fact that you may have to work with people who don't have the same orientation, discipline, and culture as the one that you grew up in? Because it's such a big industry, right?
Yes.
Is that something that gives you concern? What are the things that concern you about that?
I don't have any concern. I can adapt anywhere and with anybody. I do not have to be influenced by however another person was brought up. That's their family. That's the way I was brought up. I would rather influence them, and let them know more about culture, values, and moral orientation. So I don't think I would ever be...
Your dad is big on culture. I'm sorry I'm bringing your dad. He's not the guest here.
No problem.
And I really don't like that,
problem.
Because, hey...
We spoke about that the last time he came. The culture part of it.
But he's big. The family has a history and orientation of loving culture.
Yes.
How does that feel for a young lady? Many people your age, they're laughing. Many people your age want to just hip and all those, whatever it is that you guys call whatever you do. So how does that feel? How do you communicate that? How do you manage your balance?
I'm still very much a Gen Z, like my mates. But I think once you look back and you know where you're coming from and you have set a goal, you know where you're going, you know what you want for yourself, you know that this is the family background you come from, this is the morals and culture that has been instilled in you, you would make it a determination to not fall back or be influenced by the outside world or by what people are doing or by what my generation, what they're doing. And because I'm in school, I have friends with different upbringing, the ones that are very silly, the ones that
They are coming for you.
The ones that
No names mentioned.
No names mentioned.
No names mentioned.
The ones that lack morals, the ones that maybe they were taught and they refuse to take it. And I have the ones that, I also have the good ones that, have similar upbringing. So it's just more of, what you want for yourself. Don't be pressured by what people are doing because you are you. And I am Ayemi Afolayan.
And you are an Afolayan.
Yes, I'm an Afolayan. I know the family history from my grandpa to my dad to my uncles to my auntie Moji. I know, and there's been no scandal whatsoever of that for life.
You don't want to be the bringer of scandal.
No way.
Okay.
No way.
Now.
Okay. You are also a singer.
Yes, Mom.
And a model. Tell us about the singing part.
So when I was younger, I would, if I'm feeling down or weak or pressured, I love listening to music a lot. Sometimes I block my ears and just...
Who's your favorite artist? Don't tell me Collins Yanila.
No. I don't particularly have a favorite artist, but I listen to Afrobeat a lot. And sometimes, it depends on my mood.
Mohbad?
No. Well, yes, I actually love Mohbad. I know all his songs word for word. All his songs.
Why
even
am I
before
not
he
surprised?
Passed.
Why would you be surprised?
Even before he passed, me so rest in peace. I used to listen to his songs. I remember then they would say, this song is Raz. But when he died, everybody started listening to it. And I'm like, well, when I used to listen to his songs back then, people would say this song is Raz. But I love Simi because her songs are, really calm. I listen to, and I remember when I started singing and putting out videos, people say, oh, she sounds so much like Simi. I'm like, yeah, because I like her. So I used to listen to her songs a lot. I tried to sing like her, but...
So what songs have you sung?
Personal, like handwritten songs?
Yeah, your own.
My own
songs, yes.
No, I, do covers. I do covers. I haven't released any track yet, but on my page, my siblings and I did this video for my dad when he was doing his birthday, and we, came together, did a song for him, a very beautiful song. It's on my Instagram page and it's also on his Instagram page.
Even if you say so yourself, it's a beautiful song.
Yes, it's a beautiful song.
Now, we have barely 5 minutes before we close this program. Okay. But I'd like you to do a favor. You're young. And there are many people who don't have the same confidence as you do and who don't have the same upbringing as you do. They are as challenged as can be. And they are struggling with their own growing up, struggling with their own confidence and everything. And some of those people don't listen to mommy and daddy. Mommy and daddy are old school. What do you have to say to them? Because let's be fair, your dad is old school too, but go ahead.
I would say follow your heart. Reach out for help if you need help. Do not feel like nobody's going to listen to me. Everybody is a somebody. Never feel like you're a nobody. Believe in yourself. Strive hard. I know the economy is really bad and, they say, this country only favors rich people, people that have influence, people that know, you have to know somebody to be big in the industry. But if you have a talent, no matter how long it takes, push yourself, put it out there. Whoever will find you. And most importantly, always pray to God to guide you. You have to pray to God to guide you. You have to pray to God to, to let your helper find you. Your helper could be, if you want to be in the entertainment industry, let your helper be scrolling through Instagram or Twitter and just
come
stumble on
across
your
on you.
and be like, this child.
Now, this how much good or harm has your appearance on Anikulapo series done to you?
Well, it has done more good for me because, you know, now
can't walk on the street again.
Well, actually, the harm is that I can't walk freely and say, that's me. On my Instagram, when I post now, Yawo Kuranga. Yeah, that's what they call me now. Yawo Kuranga. That's it. I'm like, that's not my name, you hear me? But I really enjoy, I'm really grateful to my dad for putting me in Anikulapo. It's once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm glad I killed my role, because I know I killed my role. I'm glad I killed my role. I'm glad.
There's nothing modest about this, our little actress here.
Who? Who is modest? You don't know her daddy. Haven't you heard that term? Who is your daddy?
Who's your daddy? Apolayo.
Okay, so going on then, I mean, one would wonder, what next for you?
You guys are going to see more of me. I'm going to continue to showcase my talents, my God-given talent.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to showcase.
Not acquired, yes.
God-given talent. I'm going to do more. I'm going to impact young ladies, my generation, people my age, people that feel like, okay, I want to be like her, but how will I go about it? Okay, it's because she has her daddy's influence. Yes, I do, but you cannot dispute the fact that I know what I'm doing. If I didn't do well in the first Anikulapo, people would have said, oh, this girl, she doesn't know how to act. It's because
forget, it's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's only a Lion's film. No, you will remove yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, now before we go, you have to do something. That song that you said is trending.
Yes.
That you did for your dad. Sing it.
Please don't do this to me.
I know, I've already done it. You know, that's your singing voice. Want to hear it?
Oh my goodness. It's been a while.
Yes, it doesn't matter. I am the director
the
of
voice
this.
is still there.
I'm the director
The
of
voice
this
didn't
song.
go away because it's been a while.
If it is your dad, I'm not your dad. I'm not taking it easy. Sing. You have 60 seconds.
Till the world sees your fame, till you take over the world, you see the fire burning in the dark. We go there by your side. When you're looking for a hero, you see your dad and you find one. You see the fire burning through the dark. We go there by your side.
We know it's on.
It's not over, it's only just begun. You've come closer than you've ever been. Take your chances, it won't hurt to try. Oh, no need to worry, we go there by your side. Till the world sees your fame, till you take over the world. See the fire burning through the dark. We go there by your side.
Did he shed a few tears when he heard it?
He did. He cried.
Of course.
Who cried?
He cried.
Sorry, who cried?
Eyeyemi
Yes, ma'am.
Afolayan,
Yes, ma'am.
actress, singer, and model.
We'll talk about the model.
Known as Omomi in Anikulapo.
Yawo Kuranga.
Yawo Kuranga. And she is the daughter of Kunle Afolayan, the granddaughter of
Adelove.
Adelove. They don't call him Adelove, it's Adelove.
Adelove.
Adelove. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
And concluding this program on International Women's Day. Well, that was yesterday, but we are celebrating on sunrise today. And that brings to a close our program for today. My name is Akeredolu, wishing you all the best till we meet again next week. Bye-bye.
Happy International Women's Day.